Hey everybody, welcome to InDesign Fixer Upper. In this series, I'm going to take a hard look at one of my students' submitted designs. I'm going to critique it, and then I'm going to try out a few things to make it better, but with one caveat. I need to stay true to the student's initial intent. These pieces have been chosen at random from exercise submitted from my InDesign 201 Basics class. If you have any comments or suggestions, make sure that you leave them down below, and I will do my best to reply as my time allows. Sound good? Well, let's get started. For this week, I'm starting out with an E5 submission. Exercise 5 asked students to design a cover for a travel magazine. Given this task, the students submitted their documents, and here we have one of those submissions. As you can see, the student is off to a good start, but there are some issues. The main one being composition. Sometimes I like to take a layout and turn it upside down. I know, it's funny, but immediately you start to look at shapes instead of focusing on familiar things. Now, notice the big gap of negative space in the center. There's a lot of tension here as objects are jockeying for attention. As a result, nothing really stands out, and thus there's no content hierarchy, and the viewer doesn't quite know what to look at. So now that we know what's wrong, let's see if we can fix it. And fix it we shall. Okay, so the first thing is to clear the rotation. And that should take care of that. And now let's see if I can figure out how this sucker was built. I see that there's a border here, but I'm not quite sure how it was done. Let me see here. It's not part of the background. So discard that, and let's take a look at the master pages. Oh, there it is. So we have some master items here that are not quite functional, but I think we can take care of these items by overwriting them. Let's see here. Yep. I'll overwrite all of the master page items like so. And I should have access to everything on the page at this point. And now let's take a look at the layers. Wow, there are a bunch of layers here. And let's see if we can figure this out. We got the cover image. We've got the, yep, there it is. Turn this on and off so that we can see what's going on. And, looks like we have two items duplicated. Let's see. Actually, we only need one. And let's see how this is built. There are some paragraph styles, excellent. And there are some overrides. Let me clear that. Take a look at the style itself, the definition. And I'm gonna go down here to, let's see, line it to the right. And there are some borders. That's it. Oh, I see. So there are actually borders being applied, and hence we see the stroke. But I don't think that's the correct way of doing it, so I'm going to clear these. Let me see here. I'll look for them within the definition, and just delete these. Don't need them. And the reason why we don't need them is because we want to make it a little bit more efficient. And in order to do that, we could just use the frame options. So let me just say OK here. So at this point, I'm going to make the necessary modifications to the rest of the paragraph styles, and I'll be right back. Oh yeah. Okay, so now that we have this done, we need to go to the text frame options, which I will invoke by simply option clicking inside the box, and then I'm going to change the inset spacing as to create a padding around the text. This will give me a margin between the text and the border. Now I'll stroke this sucker white, increase the size of the stroke, and then adjust to taste. We also need to justify this vertically centering it inside the frame. And this is a more versatile way of doing the frame edges. Okay. I'm going to create an object style based on this frame that I just created, and we don't need all these attributes, so I'm going to start turning some stuff on and off. Turning on the stroke and of course the text frame edges or options, excuse me. And I think that's it. I'm gonna say okay, and of course I forgot to rename it, so I'm going to name it again, call it something like basic frame for cover. All right. Oh yeah, I'll just apply that here, delete this one and keep this one. You know what, this looks beautiful. And no matter what the size of the frame, this will fit perfectly. All right, so now let's figure out composition wise what we need to do. I'm going to start by adding some bleeds. Because these images bleed, we need to have bleed guides and then extend the image up to those guides like so. I'm using the snapping feature to make sure that it goes right to where it's supposed to. Let me take a look at the layers. Oh, there it is. And there's the cover image. Yeah, that's the one. And to solve the negative space issue, we need to flip this sucker around like so. And if I wanted to, I could silhouette this puppy and make the wing overlap the background. But I'm not going to do that at this time. I don't want to show off just yet. So let's keep it simple, people. I'm just going to move it over here to the right. Make sure the butterfly is nice and centered in a way that balances out the composition. And then I'm going to delete this shadow, talking about the main title, of course. I'm going to flip this around, center it horizontally like so. And well, I do like the fact that the Padawan is thinking outside the box and doing things vertically. There are some things that should be left traditionally, and the magazine title is one of them. So that's why I'm fixing it here. I'm going to use a font, any font. Well, let's make it a nice, clean and sans serif font. Work on the size. No need to be shy here, people. Make it nice and big. This is, after all, the magazine title. Not too big. Make sure that we conform to the guides and the margins that we've established. Of course, this will all change. I'm just, eyeing it for now. And I'm going to deal with this sidebar. Make sure I follow the column guides that I established. Well, I didn't, but you get my message. Okay, and let's see. This is looking much better. One thing we need to do is separate this image from the butterfly because this is not the same thing. This is something completely separate, completely different. As a matter of fact, it's part of this article, and we need to make it visually so that they are grouped together somehow, by association, of course. So I'm going to put her in front of the box, but in the box, if you know what I mean. And then shrink this a little bit. Let's work with the inset spacing here. I'll option double click, unlink this, and increase the left indent. That looks all right. I'll accept the modifications, and there you have it. I'm going to tweak this a little bit more. So again, the goal is to make the girl, the image of the girl with binoculars, seem like it's something different, like it's part of this Bird Watching Sweeps America article. Because in fact, she is. Okay, so that's pretty good for now. Let's take a look at this sidebar here. All right, I'll bring this title over. We need to change the stacking order. And we could either send this to front, or we can just find the appropriate layer and move it up, like so. So I will choose none for the object style. And then we need to align everything. So there has to be a relationship between these two article titles. And so I will align them to the right and to the left. Let me take a look at the master. Not very happy with this. So I'm going to change the margins, make them a little smaller. I think they're too big. And I think that something like 36, if I'm not mistaken, is the default. So I'll go with that. And I'll have to do some modifications. Make sure that everything is nicely lined up to the margin guides and to the column guides as appropriate. I'm going to choose optical for the kerning, and I'm going to reduce the tracking by 25. So a negative 25 tracking will give me a nice and tight magazine title. Of course, this will probably change in the long run, but let's keep it here for now. I think no outline here. Yeah, you know what? InDesign doesn't do a good job outlining text, so I tend to not use it. Looks cleaner this way, I think. All right, I don't like the hyphenation, so I'm going to choose one of these styles. I'll right-click to edit, grab the hyphenation if I can ever find it. There it is, and yeah, disable that. Let's see what else. Yeah, I'm gonna increase the leading a bit, and that should do it. You know what? That looks pretty darn good. So I need to expand the tracking a bit, and let's see. I think that what I'll do is change this to black. Oh, much better. Look how that pops out, right? Make it a little narrower. And now I need to align both background image and sidebar. So I'm going to select these two, apply the orange. This will spread the love a little bit as far as the color scheme is concerned. I'll change the tracking back to 0. And I'll reduce the letters just a slight bit. And now I'm going to make the sidebar a little bit narrower and fix the image here. And what I'm trying to achieve is I want the VA to be inside the sidebar while everything else outside. I think we've achieved it here. I'm going to lock a few of these things down so that I can begin choosing and selecting stuff that I want. For example, I like to select the guide, make sure that they're unlocked, and they are. Okay, so yeah, this is it. I'll align it here so that I can align both of these subheads. And this one. Make sure I use the margin guides, and then the bottom one. Everything has to be nice and aligned. I mean, everything has to have a relationship with everything else on the page, or else it's just random. We don't want that. I'll align right to make it even, and you know what? I like how that looks. And then I'm going to align, or top align here, both the bird watching frame and the subtitle to the left. Well, that looks pretty good. I think I need to make this a little bit larger. Let's see. I'll click inside, select the image, make sure I use the shift key as I'm scaling, and There was a little delay when I started scaling, so hence I was able to see the preview as I scaled. And that looks pretty good. Yep, there we go. Okay, let's do a preview of that. Nice. There are some issues here at the bottom, which I think I'll fix right now. Well, folks, I think this is it. Now that I'm done, I'll bring up the original and set it next to the fixer-upper for comparisons. And you know what? I think we did a pretty darn good job. What do you think? Comments or suggestions below. I'll see you next time.